Welcome to this workshop. I have called it From Chaos to Confident because I am confident that we can take the things that you're struggling with in your homeschool and we can create a confident, caring environment for your children. I am going to help you today walk through the 6 pillars of creating a vision for your homeschool so that you have a plan that you love. I'm thrilled to have you here with me today. For those of you who don't know me, I'll introduce myself in just a quick minute, but I am Christy. I have homeschooled my children since the early 2000s. So they're done with what people would consider the official homeschool years. My children are 19. No, they're 20, 21, and 22. I always get a little bit confused about where we are with their ages. So I have 20, 21, and 22-year-old. I like to think that I'm still homeschooling them because our kids always need us in some way, shape, or form. So while I don't have children that classify as school age, according to what society teaches us, my husband and I both are still an important part of guiding their lives. So now I have plenty of time to help you in your homeschool so we can go from chaos to confident. This workshop is for homeschool parents who might be feeling overwhelmed or unsure of the direction that their homeschool is going in. It's also for parents who are thinking about homeschooling and looking to build a solid foundation. This workshop is really for anyone who wants to create a more intentional, enjoyable homeschool experience. So those are a few of the things I hope to bring you today. I hope after we go through this workshop and you take some time to digest the information, complete some of the action steps that I recommend, I hope that you understand the impact that your own personal educational philosophy has on our homeschool vision. And I hope that you can recognize that when we identify and adapt to the needs of our children, that is something that is an ongoing process. So I can give you a quick example of that is my son would save all of his money. Every occasion was to go to the Lego store. And then like a light switch, that turned off. It literally seemed like it happened overnight. And I had to realize what his next interest was and kind of tailor his education to that. So it's understanding the needs of your children isn't a static, like, bam, she loves Barbie. She's always going to love Barbie. It's an ongoing part of homeschooling. I also hope that you see the value in creating and revisiting your homeschool vision because your vision is a living, breathing document. So here we go. This is the Cliff's Note version of All About Christy, your hostess with the mostest today. So I have a degree in psychology and I spent 25 years in the education system as a classroom teacher, mentor teacher, school administrator, and of course, as a homeschool mom. I'm slightly addicted to coffee and I make sure that every day, even if it's raining, I go outside and put out the peanuts and the sunflower seeds for my backyard friends. One of the things that's really important to me, always has been, is making memories, living those experiences and providing those experiences for my family. And I think that's why holidays are kind of like my thing around here in the Happy Hive. So one thing I want to clarify before we start to dig deep is this workshop is not designed to teach you a step-by-step process of how to homeschool, because I'm a firm believer that the way that you learn to homeschool is simply by homeschooling. And I couldn't tell you how to do it because I only know how to homeschool Lauren, Megan, and Douglas with their unique talents, their unique personalities, learning styles, and the things that were challenging to them. So instead, the workshops that I host are designed to support how you homeschool, to give you kind of a framework to lean on. So my goal is to give you strategies you can implement, methods you can use, and mindset shifts that you can apply. All right, we are ready to dive into what the workshop is going to cover. We're going to talk about the 6 pillars of your homeschool vision. These are the 6 key areas that form a foundation of a strong homeschool vision. Your educational philosophy, the needs of your children, your personal values, what your family life is like, the future goals and academic expectations. There's kind of 2 parts to that. You have goals and expectations, and your children are going to develop their own set of goals and expectations. So that goes into making a homeschool vision, as well as the methods of homeschooling that you're using. I'm also going to talk about the impact of a vision, and this is where we go from chaos to confident. When you have a clear homeschool vision, that's our foundation for successful and enjoyable learning. After we dig into those, I'm going to give you your next steps, the things that I want you to do, your action steps, and the resources that are available to support you. Now, have no fear. You're going to leave this workshop today with a framework for writing a homeschool vision. Sorry, once I start talking, my throat is like, oh my gosh. So you're going to leave this workshop today with a framework to get your vision done. But I also wouldn't be doing my due diligence as your homeschool coach if I don't tell you about the full course, which is going to be more of a step-by-step process for creating this vision. So that's going to be at the end. All right, let me check the chat really quick and see if there's any questions. Feel free to, I would love if you would introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about your homeschool, and then as I'm going through, that will help me create some meaningful content that applies to you and how you're homeschooling. So feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. All right, moving on. Let's take a minute. I know I always need a minute at the beginning of a workshop. We're excited to get here. We were worried. We didn't think we were going to get here. Are the kids going to be quiet while we're doing this? All of those things. I like to use a quote to kind of center my focus and remind myself, or remind my clients of their power, the power of the mind. And quotes are such a great tool for this. So this quote is from Michelle Obama, the former First Lady. And she said at some point, your success will be determined by your own confidence and fortitude. So that's what we're here today to build upon. Even if you're feeling confident in your homeschooling, we can always learn more and continue to build upon that confidence. So I hope that sets the tone. Allow me to introduce you to the 6 pillars of a homeschool vision. These pillars form the foundation that we need for a successful and fulfilling homeschool experience. They act as a guiding light. They're like the lighthouse at the end. You can see the lighthouse very clearly on a clear day when everything is going well. You don't even really need the lighthouse. As you're sailing by, you might acknowledge that it's there. But when things are stormy and rocky and you're not sure where you're going, that lighthouse serves as a lifeline. And that's exactly true for your homeschool vision. It is your guiding light on your homeschool journey. These 6 pillars are going to address the why and the how of homeschooling so that we make sure we're creating a learning environment that aligns with how you want to homeschool, why you homeschool, and the unique needs of your children. So the first pillar is your educational experiences. And I have a slide on each of these. So if you don't understand, if you're like, what does she mean, my educational experiences? I'm gonna go into each of these. So your personal education experience, the needs of your children, your personal values, your family life, future goals and academic expectations, and your homeschool method. Now, before I move on to explaining what our personal education experiences are, I want to reassure you that there's no right and wrong answers here. There's no right and wrong way to homeschool. There's only your way of homeschooling. So as we explore your educational experiences, they're obviously going to be very unique to you. So your educational experiences, these are the things. Did you love school? Were you the proverbial teacher's pet? Did you just want to go to school for recess? Did you struggle in school? Were you bullied in school? Those kinds of things, whether we like it or not, they're part of who we are now as adults and parents who have chosen to homeschool our children. And oftentimes there's a little reason in there, something about our educational experience that flips the switch and causes us to want to homeschool. It's also about, do you think that the public or the private school could provide your children with what they need? So understanding what your educational experiences are and how they impact things helps make sure that your homeschool is your homeschool. You're going to foster the skills and the things that you think are most important. I'll give you an example from my own educational experience. I struggled in math. I didn't learn my multiplication tables until, are you ready? You're probably not ready for this. Until I was 40 years old. I didn't even learn them when I was teaching my children. I ran from math. I hid from math. I hired someone else to teach my kids math. See how that my educational experience was impactful on my homeschool? So here's how you kind of figure this out. You're going to think about your educational background and what shaped your views on learning. So the things to consider are, what are your core beliefs about education? Do you believe in student-centered learning? Do you want to foster critical thinking, a love of learning? things of that nature. All right, let's move on to the needs of your children. I'm not going to say that any one of these pillars holds more weight than the others, but our children are really at the center of our homeschool. So it might be safe to say that the needs of your children is one of those more important pillars. And if we're just homeschooling them and doing lesson after lesson without considering how they learn, what they like to learn, then our children might not be thriving in the way we imagined, and they may or may not reach their full potential. Now, for full disclosure, you might think that I, as an educator myself, a mom with homeschool experience, that I always took my children's interests and what they were wanting to learn and their learning styles into account. But that's not true. Even as a classroom teacher, it's very difficult. It takes a long time to get to know, even though they're your kids, it takes a while to get to know what they're interested in. So if you're sitting there in a panic thinking, I don't know what my kids, how they learn or what they're interested in, that's okay. It honestly took me about 3 to 4 years to get my feet wet as a home educator. And in the classroom, I was forced to get to know a new group of children every year. And it usually took me the whole first part of the school year, either the first quarter, the first 3 months. That's a chunk of time where you're just teaching things for the sake of teaching them. So sometimes as we are learning the needs of our children, we're just teaching things for the sake of teaching things. We think it's important for our kids to learn how to multiply. So we're going to teach multiplication. We want our kids to know history. So we're going to teach key historic events, things like that. But then once you discover that your kids are totally interested in the weapons that were used in war, the different types of guns in the Civil War, that's where things get really exciting. But just so you know, things like that take a little bit of time. And what you need to do, your action steps for understanding the needs of your children are just kind of, it sounds so silly to say this out loud. Pay attention. Pay attention to how your kids are interacting with the world and engaging in learning opportunities. So when you go to the park, are they asking you questions like, Mom, how do the swings work? Mom, why can I go faster on the slide when I'm wearing pants compared to when I'm wearing shorts? Just pay attention to those little things. And it doesn't mean you have to go run and find someone who can teach them mechanical engineering right away. These are just things to kind of keep in a notebook about, my little one is passionate about these things. Learning styles and their interests ebb and flow. So this isn't a one and done step. I'm still learning about the things my kids are interested in, right? Even though we're not school age anymore. Now, the next one is your personal values. These are the things that are important to us. Sometimes they take on a religious worldview. Sometimes they might take on a little bit more of a social worldview or a political worldview. But your values as a family, it's important to consider those. This is going to strengthen your family bond and create that learning experience that reflects your beliefs. Now, when I was a classroom teacher, I had all good intentions in mind. So I am a baseball fan. I love the sport as a whole, but I also have a team that I love more than the other teams, right? I'm going to root for my hometown team. So as I'm talking to my students and baseball season is beginning, I'm telling them how exciting it is for this team inadvertently because I have influence over those children, not because I'm trying to convert them into be this baseball team, fans. They want to please me. So they learn to absorb baseball. They learn to absorb my team without really considering what their parents' values are. So I hope this kind of lays down an example, like we are homeschooling our kids so that we can, I don't want to say control, that's not the right word. We can have the most impact on the things that are important to us. So I hope that's a good example with a baseball team, something a little harmless. And we used to have a lot of fun in the classroom. Your action steps to get to kind of the bottom of your personal values, in order to uncover them, we want to think about how we can integrate our values into our homeschooling approach. Is it that we're beginning each day with a certain subject, because that's going to say that this is our most important subject? Are we integrating our faith throughout the whole day, or do we compartmentalize it as a subject? So remember, there's no right or wrong way to do this. Values don't necessarily have to be religious in nature. They can also be, we really value creativity. My children had a whole craft room and access to the glitter and paint at all times because creativity was highly valued. Critical thinking, environmental stewardship. When we were on walks, we took a bag with us so that the kids could put trash, things that they collected, in the bag. Those are our personal values. They don't have to be like these gigantic worldviews. All right, the next pillar that you're going to consider that's going to go into your homeschool vision is your family life. Obviously, a well designed homeschool plan isn't going to be a disruption to what daily life looks like in your home. We want our homeschool to be a fostering a sense of peace and collaboration within your family. So, do you have a special needs child? Are there lots of medical appointments that need to be taken care of? Are you living in an RV and you're traveling all the time? Does your husband work from home? Does your husband travel for work? Do you work and homeschool at the same time? These are all the things we're going to consider about family life. So the dynamics, the schedules, the preferences. One thing I see when I'm working with clients as far as family life goes is it's funny. Wake up and bedtime are huge, I don't want to say issues, they are things that people think about all the time. Do we need to get up and start school at 7 a.m.? No, you don't. Do I have to have a bedtime? Well, maybe I can make my recommendations, things like that. So that's a little bit of an example of what family life is. So ask yourself, where does school fit naturally? Are we just going to have a flexible schedule and go with the flow? Are we going to school on the weekends when our spouse or partner is around more or their days off? Those are the things we're going to consider when we're talking about family life. All right. Doesn't look like we have any questions yet. Thank you, Tuna, for, I hope I'm saying your name right, for introducing yourself. A retired teacher. Love it. You're going to, oh, we're very similar being teachers and homeschooling. So it's my dream to homeschool my grandchildren. So congratulations on getting that started. Our next pillar is the future goals and academic expectations. And as I said in the beginning, this is kind of a blend of what our goals and expectations are of and for our children. And as they age, the goals and expectations they develop for themselves. So we want to keep our long-term goals in mind so that we're homeschooling them for a future that we envision and they envision for themselves. I can help you set clear goals for their education that are both long-term and short-term. That's one of the things I do most on my coaching calls. But the thing you can ask yourself here is, what skills and knowledge do I want my kids to have by the end of their homeschooling journey? This one's kind of related to our values as well. Do you want them to be problem solvers, critical thinkers? Do you want them to be strong communicators? And it's also a little bit of like that big question, do I want them to go to college? You obviously, if that's something you want, whether they choose to go to college or not, if you're going to prepare them to go to college, it's done. And your kids can say, nope, college isn't for me. Or, yeah, I want to go to college. But if we don't prepare them for college, well, then they might be in a pickle, which of course, everything is figure outable. So that's a little bit about our future goals and expectations. All right, the last pillar that we include in our homeschool vision that helps us plan a successful homeschool is our method, what we're using. And so when I say homeschool method, I'm talking about things like the Charlotte Mason method, a classical method, a Montessori method, Thomas Jefferson education leadership model. There's no wrong method. I find most people are eclectic, which means they kind of go to the cafeteria and choose what works out of each method and kind of mix it up and serve a casserole of homeschooling methods. And this is another pillar that takes several years, because you try the classical method and you figure out what works and what doesn't. And you try the Charlotte Mason method and you figure out what works and what doesn't work. And so we're just kind of going. I know homeschooling is so much like flying by the seat of our pants, but you want to ultimately pick and choose, or align with one method that is going to be best suited for your children's needs. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to experiment. We're going to test them out. We're going to take notes, and then we're going to just consider which homeschooling methods resonate with our family values, our life, and the needs of our children. So that's kind of why homeschool methods is the sixth pillar, because it takes into account all other 5 of the pillars. Little bits are mixed into the homeschool method there. All right, this is a good place for me to pause and see if there are any questions. If anyone wants to unmute and ask me a question about anything, really, the 6 pillars or where we're going from there. Okay, no problem. It's a lot to take in sometimes. We don't have questions until a few days later, and that's okay. I'm here for that too. So let's talk about the impact of a vision. So having a vision helps us have a clear direction. Like I said, it's kind of the vision is both the lighthouse in the daytime and the lighthouse when it's storming and we can't see the shores. When you have a vision, it's easier to make decisions. So one of your decisions might be, are we going to continue to homeschool over the summer months? Are we going to continue to homeschool through the holidays? Do we need to take a break? Is this curriculum working? So those kind of decisions can spin in our mind, just like when we're trying to connect to the internet, right? Nothing is happening. It's just spinning us. Well, when you anchor to your vision, those decisions become easier because you're going to say to yourself, wait a minute, my vision says we're developing children. We want our kids to have critical thinking skills. And this curriculum is just not cutting it. It's just too basic. There's no meat and potatoes to this curriculum. I'm going to change curriculums. Poof, it's as easy. Well, I do oversimplify things, but it is. It's as easy as that. Having a vision is also going to reduce your stress. It's going to make you more efficient and have the time to have fun with your kids. So you have this plan, you have this anchor, and you know your kids are learning. So you have the time to engage in activities with them. Your vision is also where you get your confidence. You feel in control and you're motivated to homeschool. I think the number one concern that homeschooling families bring to me is consistency. I don't homeschool consistently. And that a vision can help you with that struggle because it gives you that foundational plan. Another way a vision is going to impact you is, well, not you, but this one is for your kids. A vision gives your children structure, consistency, and the engaged learning that we're looking for. We can say, we're going to study World War II. We're going to study World War II. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so excited. That was my favorite thing to study in school. And your kids could possibly look at you like, with that blank stare. They're not interested in anything that has to do with World War II until you find, like I said earlier, that interest in the, maybe the airplanes of World War II, the development of the atomic bomb, whatever, something sparks their interest. And because you have a vision and you know that you're looking for the interests of your children, you're going to create engaged learning. All right, here's what we're going to do, or this is what I'm asking you to do as your homework. I would like you to set aside 30 minutes to complete the action steps. So I'm going to post the replay. I'm going to email out the replay. The action steps I highlighted in green on each of the pillar slides. You can see the action steps there. Okay. So I want you to set aside 30 minutes to work through those action steps. And then you're going to use the formula. It's on the next slide for writing a quick vision. So this is the formula for a quick vision. And you can see the 6 pillars are here: your educational philosophy, learning style, values, future skills, and your potential homeschool method. So you're going to fill out that quick vision. Then I encourage you to dig deeper by enrolling in the full course. I have a workshop on each of these pillars and exactly how to put them together into a cohesive vision. You can get this course, video course, similar to this structure, and also as an ebook. Both of them you do on your own time, so you can fit them into the times that work for you. And then we're going to use your vision to plan your homeschool year. It's going to be that foundational piece to create a plan. So the resources I have for you, as I said, I have a video course and I also have an ebook. Now, you may have noticed under resources, the Facebook group or the Facebook icon is there as well, because I have a Facebook group. It's a private group, if you're not already in there, where I give you, I want to say, unlimited support. So you ask a question, I answer it. You tell me you're going through this module of the course and you were wondering this or that or the other thing, and I will address it right away and help you use your vision to move on. So let's take a look at this formula for writing a homeschool vision. So you can provide your own answers just off the top of your head if you'd like, but I'm going to kind of try and fill it in here on the fly. So we envision a homeschool environment that fosters individualized education by catering to our child's unique strength in math. My son was very good in math. We will integrate our family values of, here comes Percy. What are our family values, Percy, huh? Oh, kindness. I'll use kindness. We integrate our family values of kindness into our learning experiences, creating a harmonious rhythm within our daily life. Our ultimate goal is to empower our child with the knowledge to learn independently. by exploring homeschool methods that align with our vision, such as the Charlotte Mason method. There we go. So that oversimplified, once again, that's as easy as it is. So as I mentioned in the Facebook group, you can share what, the light bulb moments, the breakthroughs that you had as you were going through this workshop, or again, as you go through the full course. Now, that's it for my slide presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. As you go through and you're rewatching it and completing those action steps using the formula to write your vision, please, by all means, reach out to me if you have any questions. If you want me to take a look at your vision, I am happy to do so. All right, friends, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for buzzing into the Happy Hive, and we'll see you next time.